Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the Getting Things Done Through Service panel. My name is Vicki Dumbuya and I'm the director of the Anti-Hunger Corps Vista program here at HFA. I also completed 2 terms of service in the AmeriCorps National Direct Program in 2004 and 2005 in Atlanta, Georgia. Before we get started, I wanted to do the land acknowledgement. I'm speaking from the physical space of New York City. I would like to acknowledge the land on which I currently reside, which historically was that of the Lenape, Canarsie, Rockaway, and Wappinger indigenous peoples. We deliver the land acknowledgement to acknowledge the historical legacy of colonialism by honoring and paying respect to the land, which was taken by conquest along with the domination of the people who inhabited the land and the imposition of white supremacy. We do it to raise greater public consciousness of Native sovereignty and cultural rights as a small step toward equitable relationship and reparation. We encourage everyone to privately acknowledge the land that sustains and supports you. If you do not already know your area's history, we have provided a link in the chat to learn more about the indigenous peoples that live or lived in your area. If you are new to Hunger Free America, I'll take a minute to give an overview of our mission and work. HFA is a nonpartisan national nonprofit building the movement to enact the policies and programs needed to end domestic hunger and ensure that all Americans have sufficient access to nutritious food. We do this through both our direct service and advocacy work, both of which we feel strengthen each other. As the global pandemic and demands for racial justice continue to be heard, we must continue to uplift MLK's message of justice. For over 15 years, Hunger Free America has honored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy by coordinating service events and volunteer action, supporting long-term solutions to hunger. We hope that volunteers will learn something new today, take action to fight against hunger, as well as take away some ideas on how to continue working towards and supporting a more equitable community. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the rest of our Vista team, who unfortunately are under the weather today. That includes Associate Director Elena Farmer and Vista Leader Molly Como. Joining us are Deidre Washington, the Vista Leader, and Alex Ulioa, who will be leading our panel. So I'll turn it over to Alex.
Thank you, Vicki. And so as we begin the workshop, I'd like to introduce to some group norms to frame our dialogue. So a safe space is a brave space. We are called to create a brave space where we accept the likelihood that we'll be uncomfortable when investigating issues of race, privilege, and oppression and our roles within them. Work to recognize your privileges. Use this space to recognize and investigate your privileges, for example, class, gender, sexual orientation, ability, and honor the different experiences we all bring to this space. Take risks. Lean into discomfort. We are all in the process. Challenge yourself to contribute even if it is not perfectly formulated, and actively listen. Use your energy to listen to what is said before thinking about how to respond. Notice when defensiveness and denial arise. If anyone has additional norms to add, we welcome them in the chat. I'd like to introduce Hunger Free America CEO Joel Berg to kick off the session.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, all of you serving out there. I'll introduce my colleague, Megan Sarah, in a few minutes. But I just wanted to say that, a lot of people quote Dr. King's quote today, anyone can be great because anyone can serve. But be clear, he wasn't really talking about direct service like working in a food pantry. He was talking about transformational work to transform our society. Many of you have started that work in your Vista service. There are certain things you're prohibited of doing in your Vista service, but we hope what you learned this year can impact your transformative work throughout the rest of your life, whether you continue would work like this professionally, or whether you just serve as a citizen while doing whatever else you are doing for a living. We are thrilled at Hunger Free America to help sponsor a national Vista program. As many of you know, Vista was started during the 1960s as part of the War on Poverty, and then was incorporated into the new AmeriCorps program in 1993 as part of the National Community Service Act of 1993. As you know, first and foremost for Vista is getting things done, making a significant difference in your community and your country. While Vista is capacity building, not direct service, we know that every meeting you facilitate, every workshop you facilitate, every training manual you work on, every volunteer you recruit, every dollar you raise money for to build the capacity of local anti-hunger groups around the country is making a difference, making sure either more people who need it are fed, or even better, fewer people need food because they have living wage jobs. And this is also, like the rest of AmeriCorps, about community, opportunity, and responsibility. Not just lecturing people that they ought to be more responsible, but giving them concrete tools to do something about it. Not just saying we should provide opportunity, but pushing to make this available with living allowances, which aren't enough, and education awards that aren't enough, but keep pushing to make this available to Americans of all incomes. And lastly, really building community, not just rhetorically, but bringing together people from all backgrounds to work together in what we call sweat equity. When you're serving in the fight against hunger, we are all as equal as can possibly be in an inherently unequal society. With that very brief introduction, really want to hear from others and really want to hear from you. But it's really my honor to introduce Megan Sarah. She's director of the National AmeriCorps Vista program. So I'm in charge of, along with Vicki, of the Vista program for Hunger Free America. She's in charge of the entire one for the whole nation. Lots and lots of other organizations sponsor Vista programs. She grew up in a family of organizers and teachers and served as advisor to several foundations, advocacy and direct service organizations committed to improving education. She previously served in a variety of roles at Stand for Children and was the CEO and founding partner of 270 Strategies. And she's dedicated her whole career to building a better America. With that, I'm honored to hand it over to Meg.
Thank you so much, Joel. You're always a hard act to follow. I feel like Vista is always can be challenging to explain, and you are one of the people who do it the best. It is so great to be here. I really just want to say thank you. It is just such an honor to be here with all of you, particularly on such a special day like today. And in honor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, and also for AmeriCorps Vista nationally, I just want to express my gratitude and my true awe of your service to your country. The last few years have been extraordinary and complicated. COVID-19 has only further exacerbated the systems of inequality that prevent so many Americans from pursuing a life of happiness, stability, and growth. From education to health and wellness, from economic opportunity to homelessness, we all in some way have been affected. And there are few places where this instability and fragility is more reflected and felt than the issue of food insecurity. Food is so basic and so necessary to live, to be able to learn, or to work, really to do anything. And yet millions in this country do not have consistent access to what they need. I was recently talking to a friend of mine who grew up in Maine. And for her, like so many children, her only regular and consistent meal that she could count on for most of her childhood was her school lunch. Every day, a large amount of her time and energy and efforts went towards figuring out how she was going to find food for herself and for her family. Even when she reached adulthood and a different economic situation, it took her a long time, years, to unlearn that constant vigilance and focus because it had been so ingrained into her way of being for so long. Just like my friend, so many are suffering right now. But in response to this crisis, I also see how much America has pulled together to support so many of our most vulnerable community members. During his 1965 sermon at Ebenezer Baptist Church, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I still dream that one day all of God's children will have food and clothing and material well-being for their bodies, culture and education for their minds, and freedom for their spirits." Today, we are still very much striving for this dream to become a reality. Hunger-Free America is not just one of over 700 AmeriCorps Vista sponsors. Hunger-Free America has been a national leader in the fight against hunger and food instability for decades. In addition to its relentless focus on this issue for so many years, Hunger-Free America has led the way in helping so many in moments of crisis, while always also addressing the root causes of food insecurity and supporting the implementation of systemic long-term solutions. In this way, Hunger-Free America and all of you have been tireless champions in the fight for economic, racial, and food justice. At the core of Hunger-Free America's approach is the belief in individual and community empowerment through capacity building, just as Joel said. That's why it's no surprise that HFA is also such a longtime leader in national service and such a vitally critical partner to AmeriCorps Vista. Like Vista, Hunger-Free America understands that capacity building is a process. These things do not happen overnight. But within that process, we witness the skills and abilities of individuals evolving, and we also see the strength and resources increase within communities that will allow them to adapt and thrive for years, and potentially even generations to come. This is all the work that you're doing. Since 2011, AmeriCorps Vista members serving with Hunger-Free America have assisted over 100 community-based organizations in 38 states, including the District of Columbia. Right now, there are more than 80 members serving at 50 partner organizations in 16 states. It is truly remarkable. But you don't need me to tell you that you are part of something special. And yet, despite this incredible track record of meaningful impact, Joel and the rest of the HFA leadership team will still always be the first people to urge us all to do more, because we need to and because we can. Whether you're in your first or last month of service or somewhere in between, I know that you have accomplished amazing things during your Vista term of service with Hunger-Free America, and you should be incredibly proud. I hope that this experience will ultimately lead to a lifetime of service. Service can take many different forms, but throughout it all, I hope that you continue to realize your own amazing potential as a positive change maker, as well as recognizing the same potential in others. That is the Vista and Hunger-Free America spirit. Thank you so much for joining our Vista family, which has grown to more than 225,000 individuals since our program's beginning over 55 years ago in 1965. And thank you for honoring the work and dream of Martin Luther King Jr. As he famously wrote, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? You honor his memory not just today, but every day through your Vista and Hunger-Free America service. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those insights, Meg. Really appreciate that. And so we'd like to now open it up to some questions from the audience. So please raise your hand or put the questions in the chat. And remember, as Vistas, we want to be mindful not to ask any questions about pending legislation or other AmeriCorps prohibited activities. And so Meg, I have a question for you. What does social justice and intersectionality mean to you?
That's such a great question. You know, to me, it's impossible to pursue social justice without being cognizant and really viewing challenges as well as solutions through an intersectional lens. And it means that you have to recognize all the identities that people bring, all of the different impact that our systemic injustices have. It is not the same for everyone. It's also why it's vitally important to have diverse teams in identifying challenges and solutions and providing kind of constant feedback in terms of what, you know, how it's actually going. Good intentions can only get you so far. So one of the things that I love, there's so many things that I love about AmeriCorps Vista, but one of them is that when you actually apply for Vistas, by design, the community has to participate in the project design. And to me, that's just such an anchoring requirement. That means that this can't just live in one person's head, but it has to be collectively owned. And hopefully in that way, begins the process of pursuing social justice in a more intersectional way.
Thank you so much. That was a very thoughtful response. Thank you. And so now we're going to hear from Tammy Johnson, who's the Executive Director of Empowering the Masses. And she is one of our current Anti-Hunger Corps Vista host sites located in Texas. So thank you for joining us today, Tammy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Would you be, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I just, could you please share a little bit of what you do at your site and like how Vistas may have helped your organization?
Our site has several arms to us. The biggest thing that we do in our collaboration and partnership with Hunger Free America is to enhance and increase our food pantry outreach and the individuals that we serve in our community. So we serve each and every Friday and Saturday preparing our whole meals and holistic meals for the neighbors that we serve in our community. And we serve each and every Saturday morning from 8 a.m. till 11, serving our community, like I said, holistic and nutritious meals. We also offer workforce development trainings for individuals because we don't want them to continuously need our services. We want to make them self-sufficient. And so we offer workforce development training in two career pathways. So we offer phlebotomy training as well as community health worker training, which is a big thing, especially in social services spaces and arenas. We offer trainings about the social determinants of health to our community members and other social services agencies, along with so many other things. We're most proud, though, of our food pantry and the people that we serve and the neighbors that we're able to connect with each and every Saturday. Our Vistas have been able to expand our capacity beyond imagination. Sometimes when you're a grassroots organization, you're kind of running everything and trying to do everything yourself. But when we had the opportunity to host Vistas, the Vistas came in, they caught the vision, and they're doing their best to expand our capacity. They also brought that much needed diversity because we have Vistas from all backgrounds, all ethnic groups and everything. And that's really helped us have insight as to what other people are thinking and making sure that our mission is moving forward to align with what AmeriCorps stands for.
Wow. Thank you very much. That's amazing. And could you tell us what does Martin Luther King Jr.'s work and legacy mean to you personally?
Well, from Dr. Martin Luther King's infamous "I Have a Dream" speech, we received our marching orders, right? He spoke so eloquently about the need for us to love and serve humanity without regard of their color and background. I keep this in mind as we serve our community via all of our various programs. In his speech, "I've Been to the Mountaintop," he stated that God has commanded us to be concerned about the slums down here and his children who can't eat 3 square meals a day or earn a living wage. He also mentioned the parable of the Good Samaritan and how the Good Samaritan asked himself, not what will happen to me if I stop to help this man, but what will happen to this man if I don't stop to help him. We must ask ourselves, what will happen to our neighbors if we don't continue our work? We must remember that sentiment as we serve our community. We serve our community with love, dignity, and compassion, not just African Americans, but all of our neighbors equally. We have no zip code restrictions for our food pantry because we understand our mission. Our tagline is empowering the masses one person at a time. And our mission is to serve everyone and for everyone to better than they were when they came in contact with us. Dr. King mentioned the fierce urgency of now to serve and work together. 59 years later, this statement rings loud, and I'm inspired to serve with that spirit. And we're thankful to all of our partners and everybody who's come on this journey with us, mainly our Vistas, because again, we cannot do the work that we do each and every day without our Vistas' commitment to moving this mission forward and serving our community with excellence in the sentiments of Dr. King.
Thank you so much, Tammy. And it was great to hear from you. And thank you for sharing all that with us. We are deeply appreciative. And but now that we're in Texas, let's speak with one of the Vistas at Empowering the Masses, Kelly Gee, and she's the Impact Tracker Strategic Issues Manager, Vista. So welcome, Kelly.
Hi, how is everybody? I hope that you all are doing well, and that I hope that you realize this is a tremendous investment that you're taking today in participating in this 1 hour. It's always been really inspiring to me and energizing when I come to these meetings, even though, you know, people are like, oh, meetings, but I really like this type of meeting. It's so inspiring.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. And could you give us a brief overview of your Vista role?
Well, my Vista role has been evolving, as has the organization. So number one, staying fast on your feet. My job as an impact tracker is related to what I did for the first year, because I'm in my second year of service. I re-upped, and I happily, proudly re-upped with the organization, with Vista. I've done research as well as impact tracking of our efforts and our partnerships. And that involves a lot of get out there and roll up your sleeves and do it, and then find out what worked and what didn't work. You know, look at the 360 while we're doing our operations, and then go back, meet with people, but also just crank away on data and figure out, you know, how are we doing? What do we need to do next? How can we build the systems so that they will support all the different programs that we're trying to take on, and all the different partnerships that we're trying to take on.
That's wonderful. And what's your, so this is kind of a multi-part question, so just bear with me. And what's your favorite part of your work, that whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, your favorite part of the project, and what difference you think you've made and continue to make through being a Vista, and what you think may not have been accomplished if you weren't there to be a Vista?
Okay, you're right. That's a mouthful. That's a lot of questions all at once. And I admit I did, you know, check the box on yes, I'll answer this question. But I realized after I said it, I was like, what? That was like 4 questions in one. So the favorite part of work, you know, is really just being there on Pantry Day, because I can roll up my sleeves and help, but I also am helping the helpers. And so I just absolutely love, I've brought in numerous volunteers, including from my own church, from my own community, from their communities, and very excited to just see this organization expand, and for us to realize that there are more partnerships that can always be forged and built and strengthened. So that's one of my favorite things, is just being there, but also I know I get to orient and train volunteers, so get them started on the right foot, because it can be a little overwhelming or bewildering. You know, you see 1,000 different people, and we're not thousands, but you know, we feel like 1,000 people. We're doing it, we've got our minds on all these things to get done, but just sort of bringing people in and going, okay, this is this area, this is this area, and this is this area. This is where you fit in. You know, and then let us know if you have any questions. And I love doing the troubleshooting also during Pantry Day and afterwards. And troubleshooting continues throughout the week, because then I have the data that our volunteers collect, which is always, volunteer data is always what it is. Even if you're like paid to do this all the time, you can make mistakes, or, you know, you can have a blind spot and not realize you didn't catch something. So I do a lot of scrubbing data and getting better contact information, so that then we can follow up with our neighbors and get them connected to a lot of different services. As Tammy was describing about giving a hand up and not a handout. You know, it's really just how can we connect you with more services, or with a job opportunity or a training opportunity. You know, one of the coolest things that, as far as, you didn't ask my yearly favorite, but my yearly favorite was, I took all this data and I was asked to do 2 cool things. One was to be prepared for the toy drive giveaway that we set up for Christmas. We've never done this before, not to my knowledge. I've never been involved in something at this scale. But after we got the donations and got everything organized, I had volunteers who were so excited to get involved in that, and I trained them all. And then we kept numbers, and we organized everything. I put the organizers to work. That was cool, because I'm not great at organizing my own closet. So they came in and they're like, oh, you know, a shipping container with the toys, let me fix that. And I loved it. It was just so cool to see people using their own strengths and their own talents, and giving with love, And just they could picture, even if they weren't going to see that child receive the toy, they knew that what they were doing was so impactful. And I just loved that. That was one of the two. The other of the two was I have data on, so I knew the data on the number of children that we serve. And that's what my contribution was for that. You know, I knew how many toys and how many, felt like a Santa's elf, you know, but with checking things off the box. Good, good, good. You're all good. You're all good. I want to get something for all of you. And, you know, everything from packing it in and transporting it over to the food pantry, to our container, to getting it organized with volunteers. Volunteers who, by the way, have stuck with us because they were so charged up. They were so charged up and so gratified that they've come back and come back and come back. And then they've been telling people. So, you know, expanding that. But the other part was, I know the number of seniors that we serve, the number of low income seniors. I know the number of CSFP, which is Commodity Supplemental Food Program, and that's the 130% of poverty. The lower of the low income groups that we serve. So I know their names, I know where to find them, I text them every month to be sure that they come in to get their food benefits, not just pantry, but also CSFP. But this year, and this again felt to me like a first time, maybe Empowering the Masses has done this before when I didn't get to be involved before, but I did this time, and we did a beautiful gift bag that a lot of volunteers got involved in, getting the donations, parceling them out so everybody got something. Also that other seniors in the household got something. It wasn't just that one person that was the sign-up person, but it was all the seniors that I knew of in that house that got a benefit, that got a package. It was basically a Christmas gift. And then we had, I think Tammy could tell you exactly the number, but we had numerous volunteers who gave up their Christmas Day morning and hand delivered these to the individuals after I had, I think I did the texting. I can't remember who did it, but somebody did the texting to say, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood. Do you mind if we knock on your door? We'd love to bring you a thank you and a surprise on Christmas morning. And I got so many that responded, some who didn't respond, but they were still thrilled because they had read it and they didn't know if they should respond to it, because, you know, seniors can be a little bit like standoffish about texting people they don't know. But some of them already know me because I text them for reminding them to pick up their pantry. But so having the trust level and the communication and then the data to back us all up. I know I'm taking long, but I just wanted to share that with you. That was my biggest charge. That was my biggest charge of the year, was the toys and the senior services that we were able to do on Christmas morning. That was so cool.
That's amazing. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for doing all that you do. That's absolutely, it's blowing my mind. Everyone's been blowing my mind. I'm gonna be getting my mind blown for the next hour, it sounds like. So I had one more question for you, and how are you creating sustainable capacity building system of community assistance that will carry you beyond your service? You kind of already were answering some of that in your previous answer, which had a ton of questions, but.
And I think it ties in with what you said. What do you think might not have happened if, you know, you hadn't been a Vista here, right? And so how am I creating a sustainable capacity building type of system that has to last beyond? Because, you know, none of us, we're all just pebbles that, you know, we drop in and we hope that we create a ripple effect, but that ripple's got to go on after we sink down into doing the next thing that we do, or moving on to the next thing that we do. So I felt like in answer to your question, my impact is that nobody falls through the cracks. How do I do that? I'm working with everything from pieces of paper that I put on the windshield that say how many people in this car. So I developed a little system of communicating from the front of the line to the back of the line where they're actually driving through and we're loading foods into their trunk of their car through COVID, right? And we might be continuing after that with the same approach where we sign them in at one end, but we need to communicate with the loaders so they put the right amounts in when they, arrive at the delivery point and then drive away. So going from having data on, basic eligibility data, then I've gotten contact data, I've got date of birth, so I know the seniors, that they're seniors and I can serve them with other programs or children. I've set up reminders, texting reminders using the data. I've set up Spanish translations. I do interpreting on the spot, but I also do scripts so other people can communicate, you know, going forward, or if I'm not the one called over to that car to do the translating for them. I've done text messaging in Spanish as well as in English, instruction manuals on how to do the things that I do, volunteer orientation materials. Thought that was really important because, you know, it's nice that you can't be everywhere at once. And, you know, time is nature's way of keeping everything from happening all at once, but sometimes even time doesn't work for you and you can't be everywhere to get everything done. And so when my director or I, you know, we can't do the orientation or the training of what these people are supposed to do when they come in and they hit the ground running, and they don't want to stand around in the kitchen waiting for somebody to come and get them. Well, they've got the instructions on what to do, you know, and there are, you know, the little pink slips that we put on the windshield so that we train them how to do that. We train them on using the iPad. We used to have a little paper log, which we've, thank goodness, taken beyond paper, because that is where my midnight to 4 a.m. used to go, is logging all that stuff in. Now we do Salesforce, and I'm not putting a plug in it for that because there are lots of software packages, but I've learned a lot and I've loved working with consultants to make them build us what we want for the cheapest price I can possibly get. So, so I think those are lasting contributions that then can always be built on, like, you know, whether it's donations or other sister programs. We do diapers now, we do other things. They can all be fed into that app, and then we can know what kinds of services that we're providing. And so that'll last beyond my stay here.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelly. That was wonderful. And thanks for speaking with us today and sharing all of that. And we appreciate all the great work you've been doing. So now I'm going to move away from Kelly and move to another part of the country, to the East Coast. And we're going to introduce a couple of Vistas at the South Carolina Empowerment Center, starting with Jana Jackson. Hello, Jana. Are you there?
Hi, yes, I am. Can you
Hello,
guys hear me?
Jana. Yes, I can. And how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And could you share a brief overview of your Vista role?
So my Vista role is I'm basically the anti-hunger coordinator at the South Carolina Empowerment Center. And so that's basically dealing with the food insecurity in my community in Lawrence County.
That's fantastic. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. And so this is a question. So, sorry. In what ways does your organization engage in intersectional justice work?
So Lawrence County is a predominantly poor, low-income community. So a few ways that the South Carolina Empowerment Center engages in intersectional justice work is by trying to get our food programs and like mobile food pantries, and then we also have a food share program. It's for anybody in the community to have access to, and just trying to get our food programs like more known in the low income areas and fight food insecurity in like all the places. So especially right now, we're expanding our outreach towards the Great Court community, and they only have one place where they're able to get fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's their local Dollar General. Like their local Dollar General literally sells meats, fresh fruits, vegetables, things like that. Not something that you would commonly see at other small town Dollar Generals. And so a way for us to really be able to help the individuals in that community is through our food share program. And it's a box of fresh fruits and vegetables is $15 cash, but then it's $5 EBT. And so far with our numbers, we were able to start up our food share program last March, and we are the highest, we have the highest rate of EBT individuals. So we're able to really help those low income individuals in that way. And also through our mobile food pantries, we're able to provide fresh meats, fruits, vegetables, and also breads and sweet items like that, that most like charities or donation places don't really offer. So we're able to do that in Great Court as well as Lawrence County. Oh, sorry, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out. And well,
you're
thank
fine.
you for sharing all of that with us, Jana, because that's just absolutely wonderful. Like, thank you for all, like, you're doing a ton of work, and thank you for doing all that. We really appreciate your service, and thank you for sharing with us today. And just for the sake of time, we're just going to move on a little bit quicker than we would normally. But thank you again, Jana. Really,
Thank you
really
so much.
appreciate it. And we're going to move from Jana at South Carolina Empowerment Center to Joshua Lawson. And Joshua is the Professionals Program Development Vista. So hello, Joshua.
Hi,
Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing good. About yourself?
I'm doing well. And could you share a brief summary of your Vista role?
Yeah, so basically, whereas Jan was working more with the food and helping the community get food, I'm more trying to work towards helping the younger generations, middle and high school, work towards ending generational poverty. So it's working more toward developing professional and financial literacy and job readiness programs, and creating materials and curriculums, and finding speakers and conducting the outreach, but also doing young professional summit events, which is more community events, to try to reach out to more kids in the community, not more just the kids in our programs.
Wow, great. That's amazing. And so in what ways does your organization engage in intersectional justice work?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that question. There's a lot of different ways you could answer that. One of the ways we do is we do a minimum of 2 trainings a year for all our volunteers and employees and all that. And one of the ways we work through intersectional things is one of our training goes by the SOGI, which is like sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression program. That's kind of like the basic of our trainings when it comes to that topic. But we also have a trained therapist on staff and everything. So if we do have like kids and have problems they need to go to, they can go to that therapist when they need help.
Wow, that's wonderful. And well, thank you very much, Joshua. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that before we move on?
No.
Great. Well, I mean, thank you so much. And again, we're kind of cutting some of the things short for a little bit for time, because we're just running up against some clock issues. But thank you again for being here, Joshua. Thank you for all the work that you and Jana do at the South Carolina Empowerment Center. We really appreciate it. And so next, we're going to go hear from another of our current anti-Hunger Corps Vista host sites, San Diego Hunger Coalitions. And there, I'd like to introduce CEO Anahid Brocky.
Good morning.
Good morning. And how are you today?
I'm doing well. It's really inspiring to be with you all. I've been a huge fan of Hunger Free America and Joel's work since I started this work at the Hunger Coalition anyway, 7 years ago, just hit my 7-year anniversary, and love the Vista program, love the amazing people who come through our organization through this program. So happy to be here.
Great. And could you share a little bit about your organization and how Vistas has helped with your mission?
Sure. So we provide just a little bit of direct service, but mostly we're working at the systems level, whether it's at the level of best practices among school districts to expand breakfast, do breakfast after the bell. We might work at the legislative level for that, get funding for equipment, help districts apply for that money, or when it comes to SNAP, we run task forces and do collective advocacy. We hold the county accountable. We work on, I love the theme of building community. You know, in Martin Luther King's honor, we've been talking a lot about building community and empowering people in the fight. And I think, you know, our mission is to lead collaborative action to end hunger. And so we do that through empowering individuals and other organizations with funding and information. We try to advance our own levels of influence and then keep the door wide open and bring other people to the table. And so I think with our with the Vistas that we've had who have really loved digging their teeth into these different fights. I think one of the ways that, with their, we never could have afforded to have as many staff as we have, and to get such high level people to be able to work on our programs. It's just such a win-win. I'm not really sure if I'm completely answering the question.
You were. I just want to clarify that you back me up on this. Your Vista, while your organization does legislative lobbying, your Vistas are not involved in that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
What our Vistas do, thank you, Joel. What our Vistas do is work with our partners on the ground and individuals to provide the basis of the things that we go and then lobby for.
Great. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that with us. And thank you, Anahid, for sharing the great mission of the San Diego Hunger Coalition. And did you want to share anything else?
Well, I was just wondering if you aren't going to, will you be asking Annalise?
Yes, I'm going to be.
Okay, we're very excited about this Navigator program. We think fantastic. It is a solution and a curriculum that may be of interest to everyone on this call. So Annalise has been co-developing it with her manager, and I can't wait for you to hear about it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for everything that you do. And so now, speaking of Annalise, let's move on to Annalise Petit, the Vista Community Engagement Specialist at the San Diego Hunger Coalition. And hello, Annalise, and thanks for joining us today.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a bit of a lag, so don't mean to cut you off.
And how are you today? And could you share a little bit of a summary of your role of your Vista role? And it sounds like there's something that you've been working on.
Yeah, of course. So I'm great today. Thank you for asking. So a big project that I work on as a community engagement specialist is our Hunger Free Navigator program. It started as a training, so it's a 90-minute training. It's kind of expanded from there, but the basis of it was a training that covers the different
we've got a freeze.
food assistance resources. It's specific to our county at the. Ooh, sorry, can you hear me?
You froze for a moment. If you wanted to back up about like 10 seconds.
Okay. So the basis of our program is our Hunger Free Navigator training and our Hunger Free Navigator program. So the training itself is a 90-minute program in which we cover the different food assistance resources in San Diego County, including CalFresh, WIC, so government programs, as well as meals for older adults, school meals, and food distributions, food pantries. So that training was originally tailored to other nonprofit leaders, case managers, social workers, anyone essentially helping the community or interacting with the community. And we've been able to expand that to community members as well, just making them aware of these resources, basically how to connect, who is eligible, and kind of where to go when you get stuck, because that is inevitable, especially with county and government programs. We've also been able to develop a website that has all these resources like short videos, some PDFs, links, pictures that people can easily download and share with their community, because that's really how we're going to get to know things, is working with the community and hearing from the residents themselves. So yeah, a lot of what I do is just supporting and doing those trainings, a lot of emails and outreach, building relationships with new organizations and kind of maintaining ones that we've already had pre-existing.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that. And this is kind of a tag along to what you just told us, but how are you helping to create sustainable capacity building system of community assistance that will carry on beyond your service?
Yeah, so I think just being able to provide these resources to people, giving them the confidence and the ability to then further expand their organizations. If we have a case manager that gets a client, having them being able to help that client directly because they have taken the training, because they have these resources, rather than having to then refer them to someone else and then kind of it just gets lost in the process. So we have that website and we have a bunch of resources, working on translations, and just being able to spread that information and making people aware will definitely help in the long run.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you again for being with us today. Thank you for helping to share San Diego Hunger Coalition's whole mission and for all the great work that all of you are doing out there. And you in particular, because you're the one who's speaking with us right now. So now moving on from Annalise and San Diego, let's move to other parts of the country. And we're going to move on to Capri Figueroa, who is the Vista Annual Fund Development Associate at Hunger Free America in New York City, New York. So hello, Capri.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm all right. I just realized after 3 days of being in an apartment that the window was open. So I'm like, okay. We learn something new every day, people.
And could you share a brief summary of your Vista role?
Yeah, I work with Allison DiPerte, the head of the Development and Grants Department. I work with Hunger Free America directly. And yeah, Joel Berg is my boss.
Well, let's just jump into a question then. What does social justice and intersectionality mean to you?
It means to me, everyone being able to live without fear or struggle. And to tie that into poverty and hunger issues, the wealthy and American government have constructed our country in that there's more fast food spots than fresh markets in low-income neighborhoods. That's a fact. If you could just go outside and notice that. While people of color, Asian Americans, Indigenous people, all of the minorities are more obviously affected. Yes, food deserts. Yeah, Tammy. Food swamps, food deserts are more obviously affected. Poor white people are also in the struggle. That is why social justice is a communal fight and not a passing phase for one group.
Wow, thank you. That's a very thorough, thoughtful answer. We really appreciate that. And did you? Is there anything else that you wanted to share before we move on?
No. We could do the next question.
Okay. Let's because you were very brief in your first. So what does Martin Luther King Jr.'s work and legacy mean to you?
Yeah, in his renowned Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. firmly states, "I have the audacity to believe that peoples everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education, and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits." And with Hunger Free America, we definitely give people the tools to have access to education for what is a healthy meal. How can we get you meals that is appropriate for your lifestyle? Kosher meals. If you looked on our LinkedIn, we were just at a Jewish organization helping people, because it's one thing to give out lean cuisines, but not a lot of people can eat that. They're prohibited. So regardless of what town you go to, everyone being able to have the same access to healthcare, to food, to education, that it's all uniform in affordability and quality.
That's again another very thoughtful question, the thoughtful response. Really appreciate it. Thank you for thinking about these things and for all the service that you've been doing for us. Really appreciate that, Capri. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel, for hiring me.
So now we're going to move on to
thank you everyone else for your service, and thank you to the American people for their tax dollars paying for this vital program.
I'll thank my mother.
Well said.
By the way, lean cuisine may actually be kosher, but I get your broader point. Continue.
So let's from New York, we're going to move on to Houston, Texas, and speak with Mandy Reynolds, the Vista Charity Support and Tackle Hunger Support at Super Bowl of Caring. Hello, Mandy.
Alex.
Hello.
Hi.
Did I get that right? That you're in Houston?
Well, I'm in Colorado, so I work.
Okay.
But we're actually in Houston and Dallas. So
okay.
right now, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. And could you share a brief summary of your Vista role?
Sure, I do the marketing for Super Bowl of Caring and the Tackle Hunger Map with a focus on social media. Yeah, anything that's social media, anything that's marketing comes my way.
That's good to hear. Well, let's jump into one of your questions. In what way? Well, let's do. What's your favorite part of your daily, weekly, monthly work? This is again the long multi-question question. Your favorite part of your project, what difference you think you've made and continue to make, and what wouldn't have been accomplished without your efforts as a Vista?
I definitely like that each day can be the start of a new surprise project. You wake up and you don't know that something's going to be on your plate, and that morning it is. So last week we were invited to be featured by Streamlabs, which is a live streaming software for like Twitch and YouTube. And so we're going to be featured, and something I wrote is going to be featured on that on the 22nd. And they created all these amazing graphics and overlays. So every time someone donates, our logo pops up with little hearts and pretty great things. And so I didn't know that was happening, but, so last week, surprise, and that's what I'm doing. But what's great is even after my service, it's still going to be there. The overlays will still be there. The piece I wrote will still be there. People will still be able to use our graphics and our images to donate, which I think is fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's sounds like you're doing amazing work, and congratulations on getting that piece up. That sounds wonderful. And thank you for all of your efforts as a Vista. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for being part of this today, and we really appreciate it. So we've heard from site leaders and current Vista members. So now for our final speaker, we're going to move to a Vista alumnus, Cassandra Lockridge. She served from 2016 to 2017 at Tennessee Justice Center as a SNAP Education and Access Coordinator. So welcome, Cassandra. Is Cassandra here? Hello, Cassandra. Well, Cassandra may not have been, she might, it doesn't seem like she's here. I thought she was, but I was mistaken. So with that, it seems like we've reached the end of our interviewees. I want to thank all of you for doing this. And
can I just say, since we have a few minutes, Meg, do you have any closing comments or questions for anyone?
No, I think this was just such a great conversation, and I think such an illustration of the thoughtful work that Hunger Free America leads. One, it's just in partnership with local partners who know their community, who have the relationships. And two, again, I'm just so struck by how all of this work meets people in the moment and also is thinking upstream, right? Whether it's how do we treat the whole person, through on-site therapy services, or respecting their, their cultural identity, and making sure that everyone can access supports that they need, but also thinking about how can people really empower themselves, through education, through access, through information, through community. It's just breathtaking. And, just Mandy, as you said, thinking about how to use Vista as a way to build capacity that's going to last well beyond a term of service or even the Vista project alone. To me, it's just, that's what makes Vista so special. So I'm blown away, deeply, deeply grateful and in awe of the work that you all do every day. It is not easy, and it matters so much. So I just profound gratitude for all of you and for Hunger Free America in terms of your tireless leadership and just uniting such a powerful group of partners.
Thank you, Meg. And I just want to close thanking our team again, thanking all of you, and say, again, we have Vistas to get things done, to build community opportunity and responsibility. But I have a very selfish reason for having Vistas. It really builds my morale. I've been with the group 20 and a half years, been doing social justice work for a few decades. And sometimes it's hard to see that we're not falling behind in some ways, but seeing that every year we have a new team of people, idealistic and wanting to make a difference, really bolsters me and keeps me going. So really from my bottom heart, thank all of you. And on behalf of the American people, thank all of you.
Thank you very much, Joel, for sharing that. And I want to give a giant thanks to all the wonderful speakers that we were fortunate to have today. Megan Sarr, the director of AmeriCorps Vista, Tammy Johnson, executive director of Empowering the Masses, Anahid Brocky, CEO of San Diego Hunger Coalition, Kelly Yee, Jana Jackson, Joshua Lawson, Annalise Pettit, Capri Figueroa, and Mandy Reynolds, all are AmeriCorps Anti-Hunger Corps Vistas, who were so kind to share their experiences with us today and give us their thoughts on what MLK Day means to them. So I want to thank you all very much for being here today. Thank all of the Vistas who are here today. If there's any questions, we have about a minute or two left. If you wanted to throw, if anyone had a question that they wanted to throw in the chat, we can see if we can get to something.
Also, I see Cassandra joined us. Is she still?
Oh, okay. See, we got about a minute. I can ask Cassandra a couple questions. Cassandra, are you there with us? Cassandra Lockridge.
Howdy.
Hello, how are you?
Howdy.
So again, just to summarize,
you?
you served from 2016 to 2017 at the Tennessee Justice Center as the SNAP Education and Access Coordinator.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So and could you share a brief summary of your former Vista role, like what you did?
So my Tennessee Justice Center didn't have a SNAP access network. So my job was to make sure they could cultivate Tennessee anti-hunger advocacy group in Tennessee. And really, that really required me to do networking, required me to talk to nonprofits, to hospitals, to also nonprofit organizations to make sure that we can all create a coalition to fight anti-hunger.
Wonderful. And so I'm going to ask you, and what does social justice and intersectionality mean to you?
Social justice and intersectionality are two separate spheres, I would say. So social justice is really being able to advocate for those that you may not know, you empathize or sympathize with them on a whole nother level. And I believe that's where the justice part comes in. The social is everybody coming together. The justice is making sure that you're advocating with your voice and your actions to make sure that you're really advocating for the people that need it. Intersectionality, though, is when people from different communities, let's say from the Latinx community, from also the LGBTQ to the Black and other persons of color communities come together and make sure that we can advocate for people's rights that we probably ourselves don't go through. That can go to unemployment, to how unemployment affects people's ability to put food on the table, but also how the job market and the economy influences how people are making it day by day and what job they choose to do to, again, to be able to put food on the table. And I believe that's what I saw a lot of my work in Tennessee, that this problem of hunger is not isolated. A lot of people in different communities going through the same issue. And we really need to find a way to intersectionally make sure everybody's needs are being met. And I really applaud Hunger Free America, again, from the national level, from then choosing me as a AmeriCorps Vista between 2016 and 2017 to be able to help at least get the work going. I won't say the problem is gone. I won't say it's fixed, but we're getting there.
Wonderful. Thank you for a very thoughtful response. And thank you for your service, for your former service, and for the bringing this to us, like what you took from your service to us today. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here for us, Cassandra. Thank you. And you're very welcome. And I'm going to give the floor back to Vicky, our moderator, and to close this out today.
Okay, so we're a few minutes over time, but thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks to all of the members and site supervisors who provided information about their service and answered our questions. So if there aren't any questions, we'll wrap things up. And again, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.